tell us why you think you're going to beat Moon Express.
Thank you very much, Moses, and thank you guys for coming. And I want to tell you a story about how a bunch of Israelis are going to get to the moon. But I want to start first with cancer. One of cancer's greatest challenges is its ability to learn how to evolve and adapt and trick our body to think it's actually legitimate. And cancer cells are constantly communicating with our body, sending and receiving signals. And unfortunately, our understanding of those signals is not very deep, primarily because there's not a very good tool to image this communication deep inside our body. Well, I'm a PhD student at Stanford right now, working on creating such a device to image this communication so we can maybe one day disrupt it and open up the possibilities for new kinds of treatments for cancer for us. And I was working in the nanofabrication facility in Stanford. You can see this is me here. These are the wafers that I'm working on. And it hit me. I'm working right now creating this device with accuracy of less of a tenth of a cell, 1 micron. This is something that was possible to do till a decade ago only in Intel's most advanced facilities, and it costs a lot of money. And right now, they let mere students like me do the same thing. The conclusion is that disruption in the digital age is becoming really, really cheap and affordable. And I want to take you back 7 years ago to a different story, where I sat down with two of my friends, Kfir and Yariv, in a bar, and as our alcohol level rose, we became more and more determined to do what was done until that point by superpowers, the United States, Soviet Union, and China, and build the first Israeli rocket ship to go to the moon. I bought a model of that spaceship, but it's about this size. And we registered quite a couple of weeks later to the Google Lunar X-Prize. It's a competition to land an unmanned robotic mission to the moon. And this is actually the first drawings that we actually submitted to the Google Lunar X-Prize. Now, like a good Israeli fly by the seat of your pants policy, the competition was open for a couple of years, I think about 5 years, something like this, 5 years. And we registered a solid 1 hour, 46 minutes before the deadline. So we were one of the last teams to register, and it was very exciting that we were also one of the first teams in the competition in the finals, and I'll talk about this a little later. So there are currently 5 teams, ourselves, along with Moon Express and 3 others, and we're in the finals right now. So it's all about getting to the moon, and the first team that gets to the moon gets a prize for $20 million. Now, we're doing this for the impact. We're not doing this, we're doing this to inspire kids, and I'll talk about it in a second, but I want to say we're not doing this for the money, we're doing this for the impact. And for that reason, we're going to donate the entire sum, $20 million, to promoting science and education for science for kids. And this is the mission that we're trying to do. Thank you. This is our spacecraft. It's quite different from the original designs, as we got more engineers on board, and the instrumentation became much more robust and sophisticated. And apparently, a spaceship is not something that you can build in your backyard. We got the professional contractors in Israel to help us, primarily Israeli aerospace industries and the universities there. These guys are actually building satellites, and they are helping us. So this is how the spacecraft looks today. It's quite bigger. You can see the majority of the spacecraft over here are the fuel tanks, and these are the golden spheres that you can see there. And the reason is the moon is very, very far. We need a lot of fuel to get there. Now, this is the smallest spacecraft ever designed for a lunar landing. You can see the theme. Israel is a small country. We'll build a small spacecraft, and it's a small budget. It's actually much smaller than what NASA could have done until today. It's only $17 million. Comparing the billions of dollars it takes to go to the moon right now, it's actually very, very cheap. And even so, what actually jump-started and make the spacecraft possible is the miniaturization technology that was developed in the last 40 years. A lot of it was developed in Israel. And I want to stress this out. One thing that you don't see around here is the computers of the spacecraft. And the main reason is the others did not put them there. But also, the miniaturization technology is really advanced. The device that I hold in my hand, does anyone have one of these? Is actually more powerful than what NASA had at the time they landed on the moon. I want to repeat that. This is more powerful than all the computers that NASA had combined at the time they landed on the moon, and they used it to land on the moon, and we're checking our Facebook and Instagram with this. Okay, how do you get to the moon in 3 simple steps? Step number 1 is you need to get out of Earth's atmosphere into space, and we're going to use Falcon 9, SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket to do so. And then we need to navigate the enormous distance of 300,000 kilometers to the moon, and then comes the most difficult part of the mission, and that is the landing. The reason the landing is so difficult to do, and we have to design for it, is because the moon doesn't have atmosphere. So parachutes would not work to slow us down. We're coming towards the moon at a velocity of 2 kilometers per second. That's faster than a bullet. It's actually 7 times faster than a bullet. So airbags do not work in those velocities. Our only hope and chance is to use the main engine of the spacecraft and brake as hard as we can using the rocket that we are carrying with us, the rocket engine that we're taking with us, and actually bring it down to a safe landing to altitude of 0. Not kind of 0, 0, right? And you need to do this also in a very controlled fashion way. And if this is not difficult enough, the moon is so far away, it takes signals a couple of seconds back and forth to go from here to Earth, signals traveling in the radio frequency, which is in the speed of light. So we cannot have joystick here on Earth saying, oh, hold on, we see something wrong, let's twist to the sides, because by the time the radio signals goes back and forth, we already crashed. So we need to teach the spacecraft to do it on its own. And if this is not hard enough, we cannot do this here on Earth. There's nothing like landing on the moon, because the gravity is different, the air resistance is different, so the first time this orchestra is going to play is on the moon. We can test parts of this, and this is what we're working a lot to do, is to test the subparts and make sure that it's working. I want to take you back to the beginning. As I mentioned, the first step is to getting out of Earth orbit. We're going to use a Falcon 9 rocket. And one of the first innovations that we've done from the early on was to realize that we cannot have a full launch because it's too expensive. So we're using, in the fashion of Silicon Valley, the Uber of spaceflight. And this is something that Spaceflight Services is helping us do. And the idea here is, did anyone use Uber Pool before? Or Lyft Line or whatever one of those? Yeah. So the idea is you share the ride with someone else, and you split the cost. Now, the problem is there are not a lot of passengers that want to go to the moon, because currently there's not a lot of business there. Maybe in the future, I really hope, but currently there's not a lot of business there. So most satellites want to go just to around Earth orbit. And what we're trying to do is basically, oops, can I go one back? Can you take me one back? All right, the clicker. OK, thank you. So what we're trying to do is basically, this is us, and this is the complex of the many satellites that we're going to launch with. They're going around to Earth orbit, and we need to continue from that point to the moon. And we had to design an orbit to do that. And in the beginning, there were a lot of experts in NASA that said that won't work. You know, you're not doing it right. And it took a lot of engineering to actually make them more confident and convinced that this spacecraft can actually be launched and do this special orbit that was never attempted before. But hopefully you'll see it work pretty soon, actually next year. This is the launch announcement. So we were the first team to announce a launch contract. And so we began from being the very last team to register, and 1 hour, 46 minutes before the deadline, to being the first team to actually have a launch contract. And this was very exciting. You can see this is us with the president of Israel unveiling the spacecraft. And you can see Morris Kahn and Eran Privman, which are also leading the effort today. Once we're on the moon, we're going to take pictures and videos of the spacecraft itself. We're going to take a selfie as well on the moon. And actually, if you guys... if I may, one of the things that we're doing for outreach is actually take pictures of people with us to the moon. So if you ever get to visit Israel, on the Tel Aviv airport, there's a model of our spacecraft. You can take a selfie with it, and we'll take it with us to the moon. But I want to do you a service to those who won't be in Israel anytime soon and take a selfie with you guys, which we can take with us to the moon. So if you can bring up the lights on the audience, and Moses, do you want to come out? And we're going to take a selfie. Now, this is going to go to the moon, so you might as well smile. Obviously digitally. And we got a backup camera, right?
I'm going to take a picture.
Oh, you're going to take one? Okay. All right, Moses, are you ready?
I can bring you my BlackBerry.
Whatever you want. All right, Moses is going to do a selfie that's going to go to the moon.
No, I'm going with yours. I just...
Okay, so let's face the audience so they can see us all.
That's great.
All right, let me just switch the camera. All right, make sure you smile and know that if the camera doesn't see you, if you don't see the camera doesn't see you, okay?
You need to move over a little bit.
Are we doing anything?
All right, yeah, just wave. Okay, I'm going to count to 3 and you say to the moon and shout, right? Okay, 1, 2, to the moon.
Moon.
Perfect. Very good.
Are you almost done?
Almost done. All right. Okay, and I wanna just say a few words about our mission to inspire kids, because kids today, they don't want to be rocket scientists. They don't want to be scientists, and they don't want to be engineers. They want to be rock stars, right? And they want to be on reality TV. And to their defense, I'd say that I recently started watching The Real Housewives. I like it. I don't know. I mean, it's my guilty pleasure. But we also need engineers, and we also need scientists to push the future forward. And one of our missions is basically go to those kids and say, kids, you know, you guys are going to build the future, and it's going to be up to you. And you can see how excited kids get when they do those things. And we tell them the upshot, which is find the moonshot within you. Don't say, oh, I'm too little, you know, I'm a little on me, I can do it, it's only governments and big companies, because it's not anymore. The economics of today is that moonshots in the digital age are cheap. You can actually try and do them yourselves. Now, you do need to pace yourself, right? We're going for the moon, not Mars, and we're trying to image cancer, not cure it. But just know that the length of your sleeves is not a measure of how far your arms can reach. And you just need to try to go for that. Now, I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's very hard. And you need to get used to the frustration of failure. Sometimes physics tells you you can't do something. Sometimes people tell you you're too young, inexperienced. And you need to kind of keep on pushing forward. And science sometimes throws you a lifeline. I was working on the experiment for our cancer research one day, and the experiment was failing tremendously. But we got this image in an electron microscope. Now, electron microscope images, for those who don't know, are black and white. We color this for artistics. But these are real gold nanorods that are sitting here on a bead, and this the size of a micron. And you know, I'm still thinking if someone was trying to tell me something, or is it something from above. But you know, even in the days that you fail, sometimes you can find something to help you push yourself forward. Thank you.
So are you calling a launch date? Have you announced the launch date?
It's next year. It's going to be next year.
So 2018?
Yeah.
I don't know where Moon Express is. They're not saying whether it's 17 or 18, but maybe we'll have a big showdown next year, and we'll have you both back.
I can guarantee you that landing on the moon is hard enough, that if 2 teams do that, that would be great.
Thank you very much.
Hold it a little bit.
Yeah.